This video is about happiness. Specifically, this is the introduction to my full-length premium program, 7 Steps to Happiness. In this video, I'm going to be talking to you about how the study of spirituality and learning the technology of identifying and clearing subconscious blocks can help you to be happier every moment of every day for the whole rest of your life. So if you're interested, keep watching. You're in the right place. I am Brent Phillips. I am the author of this program, and I'm going to talk to you for just a couple minutes before we get into the meat of it. So a couple things I want you to know. First of all, I am a software engineer and a scientist, right? I never meant to be a woo-woo person. I'll talk more a little later about my story, but I experienced a horrific life meltdown in my 20s and met a healer and experienced a miracle that gave me my life back. And I've spent the last 20 plus years devoting all this big brain of science and engineering to understanding the masters, reverse engineering, energy healing, higher consciousness, law of attraction, prayer, these sorts of things, right? With the goal of creating a simple, no-nonsense system of powerful tools that regular people just like you and me can use to change our lives. This specifically is my major product release, 7 Steps to Happiness. And I want to talk to you for just a couple minutes about what it is and how you can get the most value out of it. Remember, this is the introduction to the program. So if you're here, great. This is the thing you want to watch first, right? After you finish this, I'm going to be releasing to my YouTube channel all 7 steps over the next 7 weeks, 1 a week. And you're going to be getting the full uncut versions of all 7 steps right here on YouTube. So make sure you click like and subscribe if you haven't already. Take a moment, smash that button, right? Hit the little bell so you get notifications. Awesome. Very cool. And I wanted to talk to you just a little bit about what this program is and how you can get the most value out of it. So this is, again, the introduction to 7 Steps to Happiness. This is a full-length premium program, meaning for me, I have not released anything in over 4 years. This is it. It took me over 4 years and a small fortune to create this. And my major programs, including this one, are always divided into 2 halves. Half for the conscious mind, half for the subconscious mind. Why? That's what works. If you only address the conscious mind, your results won't be as good. You'll get some, but they'll be less, right? If you only address the subconscious mind, you'll get some results, but not as much. I want to do both. So we have half the program, which is lectures. That's all the content for your conscious mind. Ideas, paradigms, tricks, tips, secrets, solutions, processes, right? All that's in the conscious piece. The second half of the program is for the subconscious. They have encoded subconscious block clearings. I have a really cool technology I've developed called the Formula for Miracles technology. It's a patent pending process of encoding audio so they will actually clear subconscious blocks just by listening. Really cool technology. And so what you're getting right here on YouTube is all 7 steps, the lecture programs uncut for free. And here's how it worked. I was planning on releasing this through your typical online funnel, right? I was going to build a webinar and a sales page and emails and chatbots and Facebook ads and all that stuff, right? That's a part of my business. And this is my only major release in over 4 years. So this is a big deal to me. But when I was going to release it, I decided to change course. I'm not going to sell it through a funnel for $400. I'm going to give you over half of it for free through YouTube. And if you really like what you're getting for free, I think it would be awesome if you want to buy the rest of it, but no pressure, right? So you're getting all 7 steps, all the lectures, uncut, everything for the conscious mind right here for free. This is the introduction, right? Listen to this first. After this, I'm going to be releasing all 7 steps, 1 video a week. And you will get all of it, right? All 7 steps, everything for the conscious mind. What I'm not giving you for free on YouTube is the second half of the program, which is for the subconscious. Specifically, they are subconscious clearing programs created with an audio technology. It's a patent pending process I call the Formula for Miracles technology. And it's this really cool technique I developed where I can clear your subconscious blocks just by having you listen to audios. So that is not included here because there's a lot more setup and training required. If you enjoy the free part and you want to get the full program, that would be awesome. I would greatly appreciate it. I think you'll love it. It also has some other bonuses like the trauma clearing program you can use, a lot of other cool stuff. It's got copies of my ebooks, trial coupons for my members program, lots of cool stuff. But don't worry about that. If you ever decide you want to check out the full version, just go to the description. There it is. So last thing I want to tell you before we jump into it is that this was originally developed as an audio program. And so we have little videos I've made for the beginning and the end, like I'm talking to you right now. This is going to go away in a minute. The majority of the intro and the 7 steps is an audio program. That's how I developed it, right? But I'm going to put something here for you to look at. So you'll see some static slides and some stock footage. Just know there's not much to see. It's meant to listen to. So if you want to watch, that's fine. But if you're just listening, if you're on a walk, riding the bike at the gym, whatever, that's fine. It's intended just to listen to. All right, so that's all I got to say for right now. Would love it if you let me know feedback. What do you think of this? Is this helping you? Are you learning something? Are you becoming happier? Let me know in the comments. I'm going to strive to personally respond to every single comment. So here we go. This is the introduction to 7 steps to happiness.
Changed in your immediate environment, other than, of course, numbers on a piece of paper or on a bank statement. Now, I'm not saying that there's no real effects on your life. Of course there are. You may have to get a new job. You may have to postpone retirement. You may have to postpone getting married or getting a new car. There could be a lot of real effects on your life, but almost none of them happens immediately. In that 10 seconds before and after you get the bad news, your life is actually, at least within that 10 seconds on either side, exactly the same. But you will feel very powerful emotions because of the meaning your mind is giving to what happens. So I'm not saying that what happened wasn't real. It is real. All I'm saying is that while this change in your finances will have real impacts on your life in the future, most or all of those things haven't happened yet. So they're still off in the future. They haven't become real yet. And later in the program, we're going to talk about how to get out of this trap of living in the future in greater detail when we cover presence and surrender. Now, back to our example. If you look at this experience closely of getting this devastating news, you'll find that the emotions you experience are entirely a result of the meaning your applies to this new information. Now, you may tell yourself, I'm ruined, or I'm broke, or I'm bankrupt. Maybe you feel like an idiot or a loser. I felt like I deserved to die, that I would never be successful. I figured that I'd have to work until the day I died. In fact, I did some calculations. I determined that if I worked every single weekend and every single holiday for the next 170 years, I could earn back the money that had been stolen from me. Wow, what a horrible, depressing thought. What I want you to take away from this is that those things you're feeling are not real feelings. They are reactive emotion. They are synthesized by the mind as a result of the meaning your subconscious gives to the experience you've had. And it's all based on what you believe to be true about yourself, the world, life, and God. And here's the good news. If you can learn to see through this emotional reasoning and change your subconscious beliefs, you can actually learn to modify and influence your reactive emotions. Now, I choose those words carefully. I wouldn't claim that we can control them, but we can learn to modify them. We can turn down the volume, so to speak. Maybe we can't get rid of them entirely because, let's face it, all emotions are a part of life. We all have times when we're angry or afraid or jealous or despairing, right? But we can learn to turn down the volume so they don't affect us too much. And what do I mean when I say it's all based on the beliefs? Well, that's really important. If you have powerful beliefs within yourself that tell you that you can make back all that money you lost, and you can make it back relatively quickly, you wouldn't feel nearly as bad, would you? Of course. That's the point I'm making when I say that these are reactive emotions, not genuine feelings. And if we can learn how to change the meaning our subconscious applies to things, then that has a big impact on what emotions they feel. And so they are a mental fabrication. They are a sort of virtual reality created within your own brain. But of course, in the moment, it feels very real. And psychologists have a term for this: emotional reasoning. What does that mean? Well, quite simply, emotional reasoning means that when you are in the grip of powerful emotion, when you're feeling something really strongly, you will assume the thoughts that come with it must be true. And I want to emphasize, seeing through and getting past emotional reasoning is an absolutely critical step, not only for creating more happiness in your life, but also for advancing your consciousness. Higher consciousness and enlightenment is not so much about getting rid of the negative emotions or being able to control or manipulate your environment to avoid them. No, that's totally the wrong path. It's about learning to see through them, learning to penetrate them and master them and transcend them. And so, by contrast, a real feeling I would define as something that's actually happening in the moment. So if I'm standing around teaching a seminar and you come up behind me and tap on my shoulder, that is a real feeling, isn't it? Because in that moment, my shoulder is being tapped. I know that seems really simple, but the point is very simple. That the things you feel in your body, many of them are real feelings. If you're sitting down right now, see if you can tune in for a second on the pressure you're feeling as you sit on the chair. Or if you're standing up, see if you can feel your feet pushing on the ground. These are real feelings. If you're hungry, if your body wants food, that's a real feeling. If you're in pain because something is causing you immediate physical pain, if you're banging your head against the wall, that's a real feeling. It's anything that's really happening right now in this moment. Almost everything else is a reactive emotion synthesized in the mind based on the meaning we're giving to what's happening. And it can be really difficult to tell the difference. Most of us have spent our whole lives not knowing how to make this distinction. This leads us straight to emotional reasoning, which again is when you are feeling an emotion very powerfully. If you're really angry, if you're really afraid, whatever it may be, you will tend to assume the thoughts that come with the emotion are true. And when that happens, you lose your freedom. It drags down your consciousness. If you're serious about becoming happier, about transcending lower consciousness, about experiencing awakening all the way to enlightenment, we got to get you past this emotional reasoning. We got to show you how to work with these triggers to reduce their frequency, to help you minimize the negative impact that emotional reasoning is having on your life. So how do we do it? Well, like a lot of things we're talking about in this program, there is both a conscious component and a subconscious component. So we're going to talk about both. I'm going to talk about the conscious mind aspect first. So how do we penetrate emotional reasoning? So to help you understand both exactly what emotional reasoning is and how to get past it, let me give you an example that most of us can relate to. And it's this: falling in love for the first time and then, almost inevitably, experiencing your first heartbreak. So almost all of us listening to this, if you're an adult, you have probably fallen in love at some point in your life. Usually it happens for the first time as a teenager. And when you fall in love, it can be great, especially if that love is reciprocated. But almost inevitably, that first crush, that first love doesn't work out. Maybe you just get rejected, perhaps cruelly, by the person you're in love with. Maybe you date them, have a relationship, and at some point it doesn't work out. It might last a day, a week, a month, a year. At some point, it probably fell apart. And then you got to experience your first heartbreak. And it's usually pretty intense when it's the first time, because we don't know what we're doing. This is all brand new territory, right? So for many of us, that heartbreak was pretty profoundly difficult. We were angry, we were depressed, we were in pain. It hurt like nothing we had felt before. And if you remember back, there were a lot of thoughts that came with that powerful emotion. You may have had thoughts like, oh, nobody will ever love me. Oh, I'll never be happy again. Oh, I'll never be able to fall in love, or some nonsense like that, right? I don't know what the exact thoughts were for you, but that's the kind of thing I went through. And so we look back on it. Here's the trap of emotional reasoning. When you are in the grip of that powerful emotion, especially when you're young, the thoughts that come with it will seem true, only because there's so much powerful emotion. And so, was it true that you would never be loved again? Of course not. Was it true that nobody would ever love you? Of course not. Was it true that you would never experience any happiness ever again? Of course not. None of those things were actually true. But when you were going through that heartbreak, it may have felt true to you. And this can be a very serious thing. In extreme cases, people can commit suicide because they're so convinced that they'll never be happy or that their life is ruined, all because of a breakup or a relationship gone bad. And that's tragic. So that's what happens with emotional reasoning in the extreme. It can be potentially fatal. So this is serious business. But here's the good news. You know now that those thoughts were not true. You just thought they were because the emotion was so strong. That's it. That's the core of emotional reasoning, is simply recognizing that when you are in the grip of powerful emotion, there's going to be all these crazy thoughts that show up. Very rarely are those thoughts actually true. Almost always, all those thoughts you have are not true. They're just emotion. And so here's how we transcend emotional reasoning. It's simple. Anytime you're in the grip of powerful emotion, realize what's happening. Realize that you are experiencing a powerful emotion, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's no shame in that. Whether it be anger or fear or jealousy or despair, these things are all part of life. Stuff happens to us, people, and we are not defined by what happens to us, but rather by what we do about it. And so you have to remind yourself in that grip of powerful emotion that the thoughts aren't necessarily true. Realizing that your judgment and critical thinking are compromised by powerful emotion, even the best of us. As a mature adult, you probably know better, though you may not practice it, right? I've known this my whole life, but I haven't always practiced it. My mother and father told me from a young age, Brent, when you're in the grip of negative emotion, if you're really angry or afraid or something bad just happened, don't make any important life decisions, right? Wait until you stabilize and equalize. This is the same thing taken one step further. So how do we get past emotional reasoning? Well, the biggest part of the process, the most important, most significant step is simple awareness. You need to build a habit of watching your own emotional state objectively, almost like a third person is watching you, and being aware of when you're in the grip of powerful emotions. And when you are, simply recognize it. Allow yourself to move through the emotions. I'm not saying to stuff it down or make it go away. I think that's actually a terrible idea. You need to safely move through what you are feeling. If you're really angry, you need to get through that anger. Maybe go punch a pillow, jump up and down, or scream at the top of your lungs, or beat up a punching bag or something. But please use common sense and be safe. Do not harm yourself or anybody else as you do this. But find a way to feel and process that emotion. If you're really angry, work through the anger. If you're really sad, work through the sadness. Here's a tip. Exaggerate the opposite of what you're trying to achieve. So if you're trying to get over depression, allow yourself to feel depressed. Maybe even exaggerate it, but again, in a safe way. Use common sense. Don't do anything dangerous that might hurt you or others. If you're trying to get over sadness, exaggerate your sadness. This is what really works. And so by recognizing when you're in the grip of powerful emotion and giving yourself some space and time to process and be with that emotion, that will neutralize it. That will move you through it much more quickly. And as I mentioned earlier, when you're aware of when you're being triggered, don't make any important decisions. One of the things I learned a long time ago that I wish I had listened to, my own advice, was never send an email when you're really angry or really sad. If someone does something that makes you really angry, maybe you write the email, but please don't send it. Give yourself at least overnight to sleep on it. Because once you send it, you can't unsend it, right? I've blown up friendships and business projects and other things because I reacted too quickly when I was in the grip of emotion. So it's very simple. Be aware of your emotional state. When you're getting triggered, there's nothing wrong with you. You're just human. We just want to move through it in a functional and effective and safe way. Don't make any important decisions, and simply allow yourself to feel it as long as you need to. And I think you'll be amazed that when we stop resisting and judging our emotions, tend to move through us much more quickly. And I want to share very quickly about my own experience with depression. Now, please know, I am not a licensed medical doctor. I cannot recommend medicines or treatments or any of that, right? I'm just sharing my personal experience. I've struggled with depression for a lot of my life. Really severe depression. Lots of times I thought I was going to commit suicide. Thankfully, I never did. Thankfully, me or someone always pulled me back from the edge. But I've suffered a lot from depression. And I've tried all sorts of things. I went to psychologist and psychiatrist and psychopharmacologist. I've taken all these different prescription medications. I've been to healers. I've taken supplements. I've changed my diet. I've done cleanses. I've done affirmations. I mean, all this stuff, right? And in my experience, this recognition of emotional reasoning has done far more to pull me out of depression than all the rest of those things all put together. Now, I'm not against any of them. If they work for you, that's awesome. Keep doing what's working. But for me, none of those things was a solution. But emotional reasoning really worked. I learned to simply recognize when I was depressed, allowed myself to have the emotions, and allowed myself to be present to it and work through it, often by exaggerating in a safe way. And it still happens occasionally that the emotions overcome me, but I'm very quickly able to realize what's happening. I don't go down the rabbit hole like I used to. It's just every now and then I'm like, oh gee, my old buddy depression is back. And I recognize it and give myself some space to be depressed. And sometimes it sucks. Sometimes I have to cancel events or outings or sessions or whatnot. But that's what really works, at least for me. Again, I don't want to tell you how to live your life. I can't give medical advice. But this is profoundly powerful to move you through anger or depression or anxiety or whatever is affecting you. So there's the answer for the conscious mind. Now let's talk about the subconscious mind. Quite simply, the meaning that we give to anything is just belief systems in the subconscious. And the good news is, when you understand how this works and you have the right technology, we can start changing our own subconscious belief systems. And my favorite way to do it, of course, is with the Awakening Dynamics technologies, the block clearing programs that you're using as part of 7 Steps to Happiness. That's one way to do it. And if you listen to the block clearing programs and follow the instructions, they will take you to a deep waking theta state and actually change the codes in your subconscious mind. Now, of course, that's not the only way to do it. You could schedule one-on-ones with me or some of my students. You could come to the trainings to learn how to do it. And of course, I don't have a monopoly on changing the subconscious. There's lots of different programs and methodologies that are out there. Some are simply more advanced, more effective technologies than others. But whatever method or process or technology or teacher you choose to utilize, know that if you can change how you relate to your emotions, first by recognizing the emotional reasoning, giving yourself space, realizing the thoughts that come aren't necessarily true, and working through it, and then getting into the subconscious to change those triggers, to turn down the volume, you're really going to start to achieve freedom. In particular, your level of happiness is going to start to be separated from your circumstances. Because the negative things that happen that trigger your unhappiness, you will be aware of how to deal with it. Now, I want to be honest. There is no magic formula I'm aware of that makes sure that nothing bad ever happens again or that you'll never be sad or angry or in fear. No. All those things are part of life. But what I can show you is some very powerful and effective techniques and processes that me and many other people have utilized to make powerful shifts in how we respond to what happens in life. So again, it's not about getting rid of the negative emotion. It's about learning to have a quick and functional and powerful reaction to it, so you don't get stuck in it, so you don't make bad decisions, and you don't let the negative thoughts that come with those negative emotions drag you down and do even more damage in your life. And I know from my personal experience that applying this process really works, but it's not always simple and it's not always easy. But it really is within your power to reduce and turn down and maybe even eliminate the effects of all these negative triggers, so that so many of the stresses of modern life, at the minimum, don't affect you as much as they used to. And that on its own will allow you to choose happiness and have a happier, powerful, more fulfilling life, no matter what's happening all around you. And after all, isn't that why we all started doing this spiritual stuff in the first place? So that's all I've got for now. This is Brent Michael Phillips signing off from 7 Steps to Happiness, lecture presentation program number 3. So until next time, please take care, be well, goodbye, and namaste.
I am Brent Michael Phillips signing off. We got lots more cool videos in this series I know you're going to love. I know they're going to blow your mind. So click like, click subscribe, check out the playlist, and I will see you on the other side. Until then, take care and namaste.